If you think the most dangerous man in town is the one wearing the leather jacket, wait until you see what he did when he noticed the bruises on a small town waitress's arm. By the end of this story, you might question everything you think you know about bikers, about strength, and about who the real heroes are. It was late October in a quiet town just outside Hamilton, Ontario. The air carried that sharp Canadian chill that seeps into your bones before winter fully arrives. Maple leaves skittered across the parking lot of Rosie's Diner, a place where truckers, factory workers, and locals gathered for hot coffee and warmer company. That's where they walked in. 6 motorcycles roared into the lot, engines rumbling like distant thunder. The chrome glinted under the pale streetlights. Inside the diner, conversations dipped to whispers. Everyone knew them, the Iron Hawks, and at the center of them was their leader, Marcus Rain Callahan. Marcus wasn't loud, he didn't need to be. Tall, broad-shouldered, with streaks of silver in his dark beard, he carried himself like someone who had survived things most people couldn't imagine. His leather vest bore patches that told stories no one dared to ask about. Behind the counter stood Emily. She couldn't have been more than 23. Auburn hair tied back in a messy ponytail, freckles across her cheeks, tired blue eyes that tried very hard to look cheerful. She greeted them like she greeted everyone else. Coffee. Her voice was steady, her hands were not. As she reached across the counter, Marcus noticed it. The sleeve of her uniform had shifted. Dark purple bruises marked her wrist. Not the kind you get from bumping into a door. The kind that come from fingers gripping too hard. He didn't stare, he didn't react, but he saw. Over the next week, the Iron Hawks kept coming back. Always polite, always quiet. They tipped well. The town didn't understand it. Some assumed they were staking territory. Others thought trouble was brewing. But Marcus wasn't watching the town. He was watching Emily. Each day, the bruises changed. Some faded, new ones appeared. A shadow near her collarbone. A split lip she tried to hide with makeup. And always that forced smile. On the 5th night, as snow began to fall in soft flurries, Marcus waited until the diner had emptied out. Only the hum of the refrigerator and the ticking wall clock filled the silence. "Who's hurting you?" he asked gently. The question broke something inside her. She froze. Her eyes filled before she could stop them. "It's nothing," she whispered. "I'm clumsy." Marcus shook his head slowly. "I've seen clumsy. That's not clumsy." For a long moment, she said nothing. Then the truth spilled out in pieces. Her boyfriend, Tyler, charming in public, cruel in private, he controlled everything. Her money, her phone, her schedule. When he drank, the shouting started. When he got angry, it got worse. "I don't have anywhere to go," she said, tears running freely now. "Rent's too high. My parents are in Nova Scotia. I just need to get through the winter." Marcus didn't interrupt. He didn't offer empty promises. He simply nodded. The next evening, the entire town was buzzing. Because the Iron Hawks didn't show up at Rosie's Diner. They showed up at Tyler's house. Not with weapons, not with violence, with witnesses. Marcus had already called someone. A friend from years back who now worked with a local domestic violence support center in Hamilton. Another Hawk had spoken to a lawyer. Another had contacted a women's shelter with available space. They had gathered information, not fists. When Tyler opened the door, he expected a fight. Instead, he found half a dozen bikers standing silently on his lawn, and 2 police officers behind them. Marcus stepped forward calmly. "We're here to make sure Emily gets her things." Tyler's face drained of color. Emily stood behind the officers, wrapped in one of the Hawks' heavy riding jackets. She wasn't shaking this time. The officers had already been informed. Photos had been taken, a report filed. Tyler hadn't realized that someone had quietly helped Emily document every bruise, every threatening text, every broken plate. The town watched from behind curtains as boxes were carried out of the house. Not smashed, not thrown, carried. That night, Tyler was arrested. And for the first time in months, Emily slept without fear. But the story didn't end there. Marcus and the Iron Hawks didn't disappear once the drama settled. They organized a fundraiser ride across town, engines roaring across the QEW, raising money for the shelter that took Emily in. People who once crossed the street to avoid them now lined the sidewalks, waving. The diner put up a small sign near the register, "Thank you, Iron Hawks." Emily eventually moved into her own apartment. The shelter helped her find a better job. She started taking night classes at a community college in Toronto, studying social work. She wanted to be the person she once needed. One snowy afternoon months later, Marcus walked into the diner alone. No roaring engines this time. Emily was behind the counter again, but she looked different. Lighter, stronger. She poured him a coffee and smiled, a real one. "I heard you're heading to Ottawa next week," she said. "Yeah," he replied. "Charity ride." She hesitated before speaking again. "You know, people were scared of you." He gave a faint smile. "I know. They were wrong." Marcus looked down at his worn gloves, then back at her. Sometimes the loudest engines carry the softest hearts. When he left, the bell above the diner door jingled softly. Outside, snow fell in slow, peaceful flakes. The town would always remember the night the biker gang showed up. Not because of violence, but because of protection. Because strength isn't about intimidation. It's about standing between someone and their fear. It's about using power to protect, not control. And sometimes, the most unexpected people become the guardians a community never knew it needed. So the next time you see a leather jacket and hear an engine roar down a Canadian highway, don't be so quick to judge. Behind it might be someone who notices the bruises no one else sees. And chooses to do something about it.